Alright, so I don't think trying to stream in 4K is going to work on my internet here. Just ignore YouTube for now, it's probably messing things up. Make that look pretty. There we go. Now you guys can see what stream I'm watching for music. And we're back. So all of these need to have. Look, I'm using functions, guys. Aren't you happy? Yeah, duh. I'm such a moron. I didn't do is a world item. That will tell it not to save and overwrite items that get spawned naturally because they exist on the map. So I just have to copy that into each of these. That's probably why the save game was messing up. Need to do server pickup here, and that will call the function from the server. That's why the client was working too. Let me go back through these. So pretty straightforward, just control dragging, folks. Remember to control drag to move wires if you like doing that sort of thing. I shouldn't be compiling and saving on each of them because that takes a hot second. Although as you notice, compiling and stuff is much better on this computer. I don't really have to worry about cleaning up the blueprints as much because it just compiles better. Not as fast as I would like, granted, could always be faster. But it's pretty nice. Compiling shaders is a lot faster on here as well. Ah, I missed. No, rewire. There we go. It's so much better than playing Black Desert Online, let me tell you. Oh my god. So I was chilling on this guy, Cine Art Dev, something like that. Really cool guy making this pre-production Unreal Engine thing. He's only been using Unreal Engine for 6 freaking months. 6 months, and he's doing this crazy stuff, like all sorts of cool stuff. He's a real film professional, like real. Like industry professional, unlike me, who's just an indie guy. So, well, this is the widget. Okay. Should I put a back button on them too? Not too hard. Copy that, put it in here. Make the text like this. We'll put it here. It's going above it. Make a horizontal box. Sure. There we go. A lot of work for each of these menus to do. There you go. And we want this one to be on the right. There we go. That one on the left. And so, let's see a button. I want it to do what this button does. These buttons do. Opens a widget. Opens test widget. There we go. I'll make a much more advanced, properly programmed one that feeds in the children blueprints based on which recipes the NPC or player knows, but for now this is just for play testing. Alright, so that open for now. I'll go back through all of these. Which one is this? Sword. Two-handed swords. Okay, go back up through the top. So, what can I copy here? I can do this as copy. Yeah, alright. Yo. Just keep disconnecting because the bandwidth here, I just reset to 30 frames per second. I was trying 4K 60 frames a second, a bit of a stretch, and apparently the 4K wasn't even working either. They were getting 1440, but that's bullshit. That's not worth it. Might as well just stream in 720 and enjoy it. So hopefully this stays alive better. But yeah, I've got a packaged version available. WR, if you want to help me test. Just polishing it up for a proper test. Some kind of like stupid placeholder widget buttons for now instead of making a parent that has these. So you can't really make parent-child blueprints have any functionality. It's kind of annoying. I would like to make just a... It's hard to explain. I think you can, but not in a way that I wanted to recently. Anyway. I'm starting to use functions more. As you'll see, here's my function. Oh, I didn't do the thing on here. Shit. Getting ahead of myself. What happened? Perhaps I just didn't compile and save. I did do the server pickup. Just didn't. Maybe I deleted the. Probably deleted it on all of them because I was on autopilot. That happens. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh yeah. So I did a successful package ready to play test. I'm just doing some cleanup here. Make it presentable. Maybe fix a few more bugs before trying that. Okay, I probably have to go through some of these and... Yep. I deleted it because I thought I was doing it twice. I was doing it twice in the first few. And then... So funny. I had some crazy errors with the export that weren't working last night. Oh, what the hell? Did this like crash? Oh, my speaker died. No battery. How's things going? How's everything? As they say. That's good. See, these already had it and I was deleting it. Oh, there it is. Alright. So back to actual button thing. Here it is. So this guy. Okay, good. Just finished on Monday our esports tournament for Overwatch. It went really well. Nice, dude. What position did you play? What class? It's so cool you have college for esports. I can't get over that. Basically, I'm just putting a back button on these menus here and just kind of copy pasting the code on each one of these instead of having a parent function or some sort of parent class blueprint like master. So I do have a master blueprint for them. I just hadn't put this on the master blueprint. It's just hard to explain. Cry. This one already has it, right? Okay. And it's funny the way these like disassemble when you paste them into something. And they copy all the children. If I want these to go up here, so I put it back up the top. And I have to put these in there, and then I need to put the text back on top of the button. Put the button to fill, and then give the button some functionality. So I want to copy that from here, which is just opening. This is doing the functionality of open, check for a widget, close it. So I'm still doing, you know, compressing my logic, so to say. It's just like, at that time it saved on it. That was weird. I don't know why it was different. It's because I just dragged the button instead of selecting both. Let me see if I can mess with that. Actually, yeah, because I did it. It didn't go up there too. Interesting. So what class did you play, dude? Sombra? Junkrat? Come on, don't let me down here. Mercy? Team player? Soldier? I think you're Soldier. You're Soldier 76, aren't you? You just straight up aim at people and shoot them, don't you? Calling it right here. Wild Relic Productions plays Soldier 76 in competitive. Am I right? Am I right? So, a couple more. Take just the horizontal box, move it up there. Yes. No. In here. Yes. And then just the button. Yes. Okay. That's a bit faster. So just grab the component that is nesting other components, and don't grab all the components. Although for copying that doesn't work because I'm trying to just copy specific components and it's selecting them all either way. Last one. Like, if I did the horizontal box, it would take both buttons anyway. Wait, what if I just do those two? Not worth bothering. Let's just do all three. Easy peasy. Alright. That was a lot. Let's save all. Yes I did. Yes I did. Hi mate. It's been very much fun playing the Fortnite like it's a freaking Pixar movie, I gotta tell you. And I even loaded up Skyrim just to see beautiful, gorgeous max settings. I downloaded the Final Fantasy 15 demo just to check it out in incredible resolution, but there's no way I could ever play that as a game. There's just no way. it's not, I mean, like, I don't mind the characters or their, like, you know, any of that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I'm not saying like it's fruity or anything like that. Which is totally cool. It's like, I actually thought that was kind of funny. Just the characters are great, you know, they're goofy, weird. Just like this, like, presentation of this sci-fi world just doesn't make, it just doesn't make sense to me. Final Fantasy 15 sucks. Okay, fair enough. I'm trying to pack a bowl here. But yeah, there's no games that really have ray tracing yet, so I can't even check it out, but I am excited for that. I'm taking advantage of its regular processing power. I purchased Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but returned it immediately because it kept crashing on the latest update and didn't even have ray trace shadows enabled yet. I'll probably play Battlefield 5 just to experience the graphics and immersion and stuff, but I played the last Battlefield game. It was kind of not what I was looking for. I wanted that flying stuff. Alright, let's check this widget guy. I guess on the two-handed ones, just in general. There we go. Have both hands free for this transaction. Yeah, Battlefield 5, the combat in the empty world. New shooter similar to Battlefield World War III from a Polish indie dev. Looks great. Is that just a related game, or does it also have like ray tracing stuff? Because I know there's some interesting looking, not really AAA titles that somehow have ray tracing enabled already. There was some like super indie looking thing, like a clay simulation or something like that. I might check that out just for the hell of it. That's good. Oh, I didn't do shields. Did I put shield stats in? I didn't even do shield stats. I should do shields. Pleasant Beach is calling me. 1 second, see what this is. Right on, right on. So on the shields menu, let's see what shields we have. shields. 5 of them. Ray tracing coming to UE4, so we'll play TFL RTX on. Hell yes. Did you see some news about that? How hard to implement it? It's probably just a checkbox, dude, seriously. And then you just, like, everything is just a checkbox. You just have to know what combination of checkboxes to put them in, you know? Let's see. Just 3, 4, 5. Okay, I can buckler. When I do the real game, it'll have like descriptions of all these, the benefits of them. This is just implementing for testing purposes. It's like just kind of a joke for now. Just to have the ability to test things without just literally being like an interface that says spawn item. A little bit of more immersive. Round shield, shield and tower shield. This is me buckler. Kite shield. Not really sold on RTX, to be honest. It cuts the performance more than 50%. We'll see when the game comes out. Yeah, like I'm barely making over 60 frames in Fortnite there at 4K. So I'll have to not play in 4K and have RTX instead, which honestly, after playing in 4K, it's like a little spoiling. At first, you don't really notice it. To be perfectly honest, you don't notice at first, but after a while, it's like looking through a window, because you don't see pixels. At first, you're just like, so what? So big deal. But after playing a few rounds, it's like looking through a window. I can't think of another way to say it. It just looks so smooth. And yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I'm going to turn that. I'll probably turn the RTX on just for the hell of it. Let's just go back to 1080 and just mess around with it. Who cares? Performance is performance. I'm gonna hit this bowl. I keep saying like, oh, I need to do this work and not take care of myself. Yes, hitting a bowl is taking care of myself. Not about performance, it's about how the light. Oh, I mean, balancing performance is important. Like, lowering the resolution to take it so that you can use RTX. You know, I'm willing to sacrifice resolution in order to enable, or to sacrifice performance. If you're running at 120 frames per second in 1080 and you have to turn it on and you run at 60 frames per second, right? You know, for me, the appearance will always be the superior factor rather than frame rate, because I'm just not a Twitch gamer. I mean, I kind of am a Twitch Reflex gamer. I enjoy that, but it doesn't fulfill me the same way that just immersive gaming does. It's just like reading a book. You don't read a book and be like, speed reading or something, you know? Like, what the fuck is that? Some people do it, though. Some people want to read as fast as fucking possible. Those are the people that win Fortnite tournaments. Okay. For competitive shooters like Battlefield 5, it does not make sense, right, as it is now with the performance. But on single player, I would like Witcher 3 with RTX. Hell yeah. I would also like Witcher 3 with no pop-up and some gameplay and less storytelling, to be perfectly honest. You know, like, it just, when I'm watching the cutscenes, I'm just like, I could be watching Toy Story and it would be more immersive because of the animation and stuff. Like, those cutscene things just don't do it for me in these games. Half-Life 1 had the best storytelling in a video game ever because it was completely fact-based, situation-based. It was what you are, where you are, what you're doing, what your purpose is. That was the story at all points. The story wasn't some dude standing in front of you saying something. The story was what you're doing. You were the antagonist doing things that were the story. You weren't watching the story happen in front of you. You were the story. That's why Half-Life 1 was so incredible. Half-Life 2 is great, but for different reasons, you know? I think that guy was done with shields thing. I do have to give the shield stats, though. It needs defense bonus. It needs gameplay tags too, right? Oh, maybe I already added those. It would be on here. Maybe not. Where would the gameplay tags thing go? I gotta turn this down. It's a bit much. Component tags. Tags, shield and parry. Okay, there it is. Yeah, I already did those. I just have to do the weapon stats stuff. I should give all the shields the same. I don't really have any other thing to balance shield stuff with. With parrying blades, it's like, okay, yeah, how skillful is it parrying versus, well, how much attack speed it does doesn't really matter if you're not doing reverse attacks. So I definitely have to do some more just RPG brainstorming about shields and parrying. I think for now I'm just gonna put like mid block on all of them. Like Mountain Blade in that aspect of Sandbox. Too bad it looks as it looks. Hope the Banner Lord would treat us better. Yeah, I guess I never played it because it is zero fantasy, and regular medieval stuff doesn't really excite me without it. I don't like it when it's nothing but fantasy. I don't hate high fantasy. I hate like overwhelming fantasy where everything is fantastical. What I really like is a contrast in fantasy, high contrast fantasy, where you have like really low medieval stuff, really realistic, mixed with like the mysterious element of magic, and like the way real world mythology, like living in the Middle Ages, people believed those things were real, so that's the way it was. You know, these medieval recreations that don't include those things aren't doing an accurate portrayal of culture and society in that time, because for people, kobolds were real. They were things that you wanted to respect in your household so that they would take care of it, you know? So I feel like dry medieval games are kind of just missing the whole point. So Skyrim. Skyrim. Yeah, I restarted a game to play as a mage. I actually did like most of the houses or guilds or whatever in my first playtest, but I hadn't touched it in years. Oh yeah. So I went up to do the Bard College now. I don't think I ever did the Bard College before. The first quest was really cool. Really cool because you do like a Burning Man festival and stuff. I just need to get more spells. I need like some illusion spells. So I think we're gonna do on as soon as possible. What do you call it in Dark Souls? Like invuln frames or something, or dodge frames or something like that? That's what I'm doing here. I also have skill effectors on weapons, so how good your skill is with the weapon and how much your skill affects it. So some weapons that are really good no matter what your skill is, and some weapons that are really good if you have a high skill, otherwise aren't so good. And I have to figure out the balance on that. It's gonna be fun. Finally getting into that good stuff, you know what I mean? So if invulnerable... Oh, I thought I copied this already. I just grabbed it once. I always wanted to play as something else, but I always chose Khajiit. My first character was Khajiit as well. Cheers. With stealth bow, ope kills with enchanted bows and all that glitchness. See, that's what I did too, but all the Draugr, whatever they are, like out-leveled me. It always happens in those damn games. I really don't like the Skyrim leveling system. It's so broken. But yeah, that's what always happens. Attack. Invulnerable. So, but I'm going to give it another go and see if I can just use Destruction Magic, Illusion, and Lockpicking, and Restoration. And I can just go like pure. And I have my sword for backup. Now I have 5 skills, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't like enchanting because it feels cheap, you know? Like glitchiness, like you said, you just keep like buffing yourself to make better buffs. Invulnerable. So on the attack graph here, if uses invulnerable, we ain't doing anything else. We are doing something else. We're doing target defensive, target defense, switcheroo. So depending on which one is uses. I have a lot of stuff going on here to figure out, like this stuff. That's wired back to there, so I don't know if I want to just jump over here with an event, if it's going to pull from something. I do want to skip some of the logic. I might have to just recreate some of this and just say, yeah, that should be fine. Grab the, oh, I don't need the wire. That way I can just plug everything back in once. Okay. So, yes, checking for method and whether it's in right hand or left hand. If it's two-handed, if it's right-handed parry, or left-handed parry. Parry adds to random timer as well. Yes. And I also want dodge. These are coming from defense type against left-hand shield. Okay. Yeah. What's going up here? That's glancing blow. That's different. Okay. So I just want that stuff. What if I can just... Whoa, whoa, where's that coming from? Oh, copy that separately. I wonder if I could just consolidate that to something instead of pasting it. Coming off from... Where's the self? This is the other. No, this is the self too? So this is the other. Yeah, that's the other. This is self. Let me see what happens if I collapse. Failed! Is there a delay involved? There's other execs going to it. Yeah. I wonder if I can just... No, I can't jump past that. Sorry people, but this is how it goes. Spaghetti will drive you insane. It drives other people insane. The only reason I bother cleaning shit up is because other people complain about it, and it's like, well, why do they care? They don't have to work on this. Like, sometimes I ask for help from people, and I kind of like hide the spaghetti. I just ask for specific details. But the spaghetti is just spaghetti, man. It's just, it makes sense to me. It's an eternal debate with some people. But personally, no, I've gotten really complex spaghetti that I'm just like used to. I'm like, okay, follow the line, that goes there, it's fine. Sometimes I'm looking at it, it's like, there is no way to organize this, that's the way it is. Although I have started using more functions. I will say that over time I've been using them more and more as I find places where I can use them effectively without making myself even more confused. I'm just trying to remember which one this is. This is the other. This is dodge. Yeah, this is the other. Selected actor. Fuckers. The fuckers being me. So I guess just from there, we'll just do that. Boop. I have like 5 or 6 of these places where I have to say like, oh, cast failed, let's go to another page. Let's handle animals or monsters. But right now it's all just player or NPC combat. Let's see, I need player inventory of ourself here. Self inventory. This is to check what weapon. No, this should be the other person's inventory. Yeah. Let me double check that that's going alright. Self inventory. Oh no, this is. No, that should be target inventory. Yeah, pretty sure it should be. It's the person dodging based on, or parrying based on what they're carrying. Alright. I think this is all plugged-a-roo. Although I haven't done left hand. Yeah, I think I have. Oh no, I have to run this first. So if you're invulnerable, we'll have to go after this shit instead. Right there. What am I even doing? Just plug that in. All these are if the target is invalid, these other outputs, so it doesn't really matter if they're invulnerable, it's not going to do anything anyway, so that should take care of it. Waiting for 3 months for some animation sets to be on sale. Yeah, I know what you mean. Trying to make sense to learn something. Oh, you know, I do apologize for that factor. Yeah, that's a good point. People that watch the streams to learn something. But my aim is more so to give people confidence and not be afraid of the spaghetti monster. Cancel the autosave! No! 97 items. Oh, it did it. Okay. Maybe I hit cancel. Let me just hit save all anyway. You know, just to give people the confidence to say, like, hey, it's okay to have, like, it's not okay to have sprawling messes. You don't want to use event tick constantly. There's all sorts of stuff you should keep in mind. You do want to use functions when you can, but I don't want people to be afraid of the spaghetti. That's all. I want to just say, like, look, sometimes you have to do that, and it's okay. Try to keep it consolidated, try to remember how it works, try to do things that work with how your brain works. and believe in yourself and believe in the way you do things, because then you'll do things the way you do things, and when you go back to them, you'll be like, oh, this is how I did it. Not like, oh, this is some method I copied from somebody else that I didn't understand, but I copied and pasted it in there, and I just did it the way they did it, but, you know, because then you get frustrated on stuff forever. Trying to figure out what somebody else did to fix. So while you do have a point that people trying to keep getting buffering sign, might be your internet now. I'm finally getting clean streamage here. So, the idea being, if they're invulnerable, or I guess if none, let's go to dodge. So if they're invulnerable from doing an active block in vuln frames, then it's like, which type is it? Oh yeah, on attack, add sparks, etc. I mean, make sparks appear at location of targets pairing up. Let's see about this. Particle effects. Where are we doing? The location it's. I am doing it where it's targeted. So, targeting area. I think I want to do. Pass in a boolean here. Let's do a select vector based on boolean here. That way I can do some extra math over there. So pick A. We'll go into here. This will say just parries, I guess, because blocks. I don't think I put in a spark effect on block. It's just a wooden thunk, so just parry? So if it's a parry, then we want to get emitter, object targeted actor, third person blueprint. Let's see, we get parry right hand parry, left hand parry. I only really need to do one of these. Select vector. So the location of it, right, is just going to be then right or left hand here. Hand actor. It's a hand actor. Right hand. That should be right. What? Location. Get actor location. Right hand true. Got left hand actor. Nate, do you need to start a company to be cool with your taxes, or just don't share them? You gotta start a company to be cool with your taxes. Yes, sir. It's like $300 to register a company in New Jersey. I don't know where you're from, what your policy is, but I haven't made money with my company. Actually, it's kind of funny, I made two companies. I made one for my, like, freelance stuff, and I made one for my, like, film stuff. My one specific film, Engrams, like an individual company for each film. And, I kind of stopped doing freelance work. I did a couple gigs for somebody, but they just go through taxes normally. I just did it as, like, a contractor. I didn't really do it as is and isn't. But essentially the idea is, whenever you spend money for your work, you just file it as a tax return. So if you buy a new computer, for example, you say, hey, I want tax return on this shit because I'm using it for work. And that's why I got it. That's my work computer. If you have income because of that, that's when you have to, like, report that as business tax, income tax. I don't really know. I haven't made money on my film yet to really know. I think that just gets automatically taxed through the distributor. Basically, it's something I just figure, like, my dad knows all about, and I'll just cross when I get there. It's like, kind of like, yeah. As for with Unreal Engine, I do know if you have to use, if you make over a certain amount, and I'll look it up when I start selling this, but I think it's like when you make over like $1,000 or $5,000 a year, you have to give them 5%, but it's pretty reasonable. So if you fail, essentially, there's no cost to you, which is another great thing. Even if you don't fail, but it just doesn't do great, if you make a few bucks, it's pretty cool. It's pretty reasonable deal they have there. So this should make the sparks appear at the parrying weapon. Move all widgets on dying. Yeah, let's do that. Ah! Double clicked on it by accident. Shit. Where am I? There we go. I don't need this crap. So I want to think of a nice in-character method for resurrection. Like, I know, like, the general logistics of it is that I want you to have to go to town as a ghost and find a player who is prepared to resurrect you, so it has some sort of material cost to it. You have to have a thing, and then the player comes out to your corpse and uses the thing, which resurrects you. Or maybe someone who doesn't have the thing comes and finds you and can bring your body back to town with them. That's a whole really complicated mechanic, to find somebody that can heal you. And essentially, this is like immersive, old school style, like realistic, if you will. Realistic what if there was magic. But I need to think of an original in-character method. Like, I don't want it just to be something that you've seen before, you know? But I want it to be traditional and mythological, so I actually might end up... Oh, your iPad is better to watch. That's nice. Huh, interesting. Oh yeah, let's add that. Open tech. So I might watch that, you know, why don't we look at it now? The Golden Bow. I know I started it a while ago. I don't know how far in I was.
Would give him the eagle's vision, and that a raven's eggs would restore the blackness of the raven, the silvery hair.
You hear this shit?
Only the person who adopted this last mode of concealing the ravages of time had to be most careful to keep his mouth full of oil at the time he applied the eggs to his venerable.
So much cool ideas for magic spells in this.
The child's guts might be entangled.
So let's just start it from the beginning and see if you guys can make sense out of it. I'm gonna start. It's like 40 hours worth of book, so we're not gonna finish anything today. But hopefully, if any of you guys are with us on this,
please visit LibriVox.org. The Golden Bow by Sir James Fraser.
The speaker's over across the room too.
Preface. The primary aim of this book is to explain the remarkable rule which regulated the succession to the priesthood of Diana at Aricia. When I first set myself to solve the problem more than 30 years ago, I thought that the solution could be propounded very briefly, but I soon found that to render it probable or even intelligible,
I'll translate anything they say that's cool.
Discuss certain more general questions, some of which had hardly been broached before. In successive editions, the discussion of these and kindred topics has occupied more and more space. The inquiry has branched out in more and more directions, until the 2 volumes of the original work have expanded into 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my own
Meantime, a
spells.
wish has often been expressed that the book should be issued in a more compendious form. This abridgment is an attempt to meet the wish, and thereby to bring the work within the range of a wider circle of readers. While the bulk of the book has been greatly reduced, I have endeavoured to retain its leading principles, together with an amount of evidence sufficient to illustrate them clearly. The language of the original has also for the most part been preserved, though here and there the exposition has been somewhat condensed. In order to keep as much of the text as possible, I have sacrificed all the notes, and with them all exact references to my authorities. Readers who desire to ascertain the source of any particular statement must therefore consult the larger work, which is fully documented and provided with a complete bibliography. In the abridgment, I have neither added new matter nor altered the views expressed in the last edition, for the evidence which has come to my knowledge in the meantime has, on the whole, served either to confirm my former conclusions or to furnish fresh illustrations of old principles.
You want to see that stream for sure?
On the crucial question
of
the practice of putting kings to death, either at the end of a fixed period or whenever their health and strength began to fail, the body of evidence which points to the wide prevalence of such a custom has been considerably augmented in the interval.
Tax in at all?
A striking instance of a limited monarchy of this sort is furnished by the powerful medieval kingdom of the Khazars in southern Russia, where the kings were liable to be put to death either on the expiry of a set term
they don't need it on
or whenever some public calamity such as drought, dearth or defeat in war seemed to indicate a failure of their natural powers. The evidence for the systematic killing
it's
of
probably
Khazar
just not
kings, drawn from the accounts of old Arab travellers, has been collected by me elsewhere. Africa, again, has supplied several fresh examples of a similar practice of regicide. Among them, the most notable, perhaps, is the custom formerly observed in Bunyoro of choosing every year from a particular clan a mock king, who was supposed to incarnate the late king, cohabited with his widows at his temple tomb, and after reigning for a week was strangled. The custom presents a close parallel to the ancient Babylonian festival of Sakia, at which a mock king was dressed in the royal robes, allowed to enjoy the real king's concubines, and after reigning for 5 days was stripped, scourged, and put to death. That festival in its turn has lately received fresh light from certain Assyrian inscriptions, which seem to confirm the interpretation which I formerly gave of the festival as a New Year celebration and the parent of the Jewish festival of Purim. Other recently discovered parallels to the priestly kings of Arikia are African priests and kings who used to be put to death at the end of 7 or of 2 years after being liable in the interval.
One can never ascertain the exact ascertainment.
Who thereupon succeeded to the priesthood or the kingdom. With these and other instances of like customs before us, it is no longer possible to regard the rule of succession to the priesthood of Diana at Arikia as exceptional. It clearly exemplifies a widespread institution, of which the most numerous and the most similar cases have thus far been found in Africa. How far the facts point to an early influence of Africa on Italy, or even to the existence of an African population in southern Europe, I do not presume to say. The prehistoric relations between the 2 continents are still obscure
so
and still under investigation.
Camera.
Whether the explanation which I have offered of the institution is correct or not must be left to the future to determine. I shall always be ready to abandon it if a better can be suggested. Meantime, in committing the book in its new form to the judgment of the public, I desire to guard against a misapprehension of its scope, which appears to be still rife, though I have sought to correct it before now. If in the present work I have dwelt at some length on the worship of trees, it is not, I trust, because I exaggerate its importance in the history of religion, still less because I would deduce from it a whole system of mythology. It is simply because I could not ignore the subject in attempting to explain the significance of a priest who bore the title of King of the Wood, and one of whose titles to office was the plucking of a bough, the golden bough, from a tree in the sacred grove. But I am so far from regarding the reverence for trees as of supreme importance for the evolution of religion that I consider it to have been altogether subordinate to other factors, and in particular to the fear of the human dead, which on the whole I believe to have been probably the most powerful force in the making of primitive religion. I hope that
Fear of the
after this
undead.
explicit disclaimer, I shall no longer be taxed with embracing a system of mythology which I look upon not merely as false, but as preposterous and absurd.
Noted that.
But I am too familiar with the hydra of error to expect that by lopping off one of the monster's heads I can prevent another, or even the same, from sprouting again. I can only trust to the candour and intelligence of my readers to rectify this serious misconception of my views by a comparison with my own express declaration.
So there's still something happening with the save game. I think it might have been that weapon spawning.
Temple,
I just want to test this
June
instead.
1922.
So basically what he was saying there is that at the end there he's saying like, now look, I don't believe any of this magic stuff. I'm just studying what old ancient people used to believe. This guy that wrote this is like a super Christian dude. It's really interesting when he starts talking about religion and then he's like, oh, except for our religion, of course. Our religion is perfect. Oh. But still, great. Written in like
Chapter 1.
1920s.
The King of the Wood. 1. Diana and
He's working a
Vilnius.
bank now.
Who does
Fuck the
not know Turner's
bank.
picture of the golden
Fuck the
bough?
bank, man.
The scene suffused
You got me there.
with
I
the
thought you were
golden glow
like
of
being serious.
imagination, in which the divine mind of Turner steeped and transfigured even the fairest natural landscape, is a dreamlike vision of the little woodland lake of Nemi, Diana's mirror, as it was called by the ancients.
This is interesting. He starts describing one specific place and myth about a method of becoming king where the new person would hunt down the old king in the woods and kill him. And it's like the whole point of this whole book is to study and figure out why. And then he goes off on tangents about studying every part of magic and religion and history just to figure out why this one. So there's probably a good half hour here where he's just going to talk about this one myth for a while.
No one who has seen that calm water lapped in a green hollow of the Alban Hills can ever forget it. The two characteristic Italian villages which slumber on its banks, and the equally Italian palace, whose terraced gardens descend steeply to the lake, hardly break the stillness and even the solitariness of the scene.
Yep.
Diana herself might still linger by this lonely shore, still haunt those woodlands wild. In antiquity, this sylvan landscape was the scene of a strange and recurring tragedy.
This is broken.
On the northern shore of the lake, right under the precipitous
I think it was because of the
cliffs on
weapons,
which
though.
the modern village of Nemi is perched,
Whoa,
stood
you're
the
dead.
sacred grove and sanctuary of Diana Nemorensis,
That's great.
or Diana of the Wood. The lake and the grove are sometimes known
Alright, well, it
as the
works.
lake and grove of Aricia.
You're
But
dead.
the town of Aricia, the modern Lauricia, was situated about 3 miles off, at the foot of the Alban Mount, and separated by a steep
like
descent from the lake, which lies in a small
sky thing isn't
crater-like
working
hollow on the mountainside.
I may have
In
accidentally
this
lowered
sacred
it too.
grove there grew a certain tree, round which at any time of the day, and probably far into the night, a grim figure might be seen to prowl. In his hand he carried
This is a
drawn
20-minute
sword,
day.
and he kept peering warily about him, as if at every instant he expected to be set upon
pretty
by
fast.
an enemy. He was a priest and a murderer, and the man for whom he looked was sooner or later to murder him and hold the
Gotta figure this
priesthood
out.
in his stead. Such was the rule of the sanctuary. A candidate for the priesthood
Maybe that's
could
something
only
getting
succeed
converted
office
to a
by
float,
slaying the
an
priest,
int or
and
something.
having slain him,
That's my Harvest
he
Moon
retained
effect.
office till he was himself slain by a stronger,
Actually changing the
more
color of the
craftier.
moon to match the sky.
The post which he
Not-
held by this
it's, you know,
precarious tenure carried with it the
Changing
title
the
of
sunlight
king,
color, which is what's
but
hitting
surely
this
no
moon.
crowned head ever lay uneasier or was visited by more evil dreams than his. For year in, year out,
No,
in summer
no.
and
Religion in
winter,
general is
in
kind
fair
of
weather and in foul,
something
he had to
humanity's
keep
going to
his
get
lonely
over
watch,
eventually
and whenever he snatched a troubled
with enough
slumber,
science.
it was at the peril of his life.
But
The least relaxation of his vigilance,
some of our
the smallest abatement of his
thousands
strength
of years ago
mere
history, the
mortal
religions
offence
were real
put
messed
him
up.
in jeopardy.
Oops.
Grey hairs might seal his death
Just
warrant.
turned off the Harvest Moon
To
too. That's still
gentle and
happening.
pious pilgrims at the
This is what I
shrine,
wanted to
the
test.
sight of him might well seem to darken the fair landscape, as when a cloud suddenly blocks the sun on a bright day.
See, now characters aren't blocking this camera.
Skies,
so when I spawned here, you see I didn't spawn inside of my head. The camera wasn't getting blocked by another character.
With that stern and sinister figure. Rather, we picture to ourselves the scene as it may have been witnessed by a belated wayfarer on one of those wild autumn nights when the dead leaves are falling thick and the winds seem to sing the dirge of the dying year.
Look at that eye texture.
Picture set to
creepy
melancholy
eyes.
Music. The background of forest showing black and jagged against a lowering and stormy sky.
Didn't do the compiling
Sighing of
shaders
the
thing.
wind
Let me
in the
open
branches,
this.
the rustle of the withered leaves underfoot, the lapping of the cold water on the shore, and in the foreground, pacing
Let me see something. If I host game
now
now,
in twilight and now in gloom, a dark figure with a glitter of steel at the shoulder, whenever the pale moon, riding clear of the cloud rack, peers down at him
clear my
through the
save games.
boughs. The strange rule of this priesthood has no parallel in classical antiquity and cannot be explained from it. To find an explanation, we must go further afield. No one will probably deny that such a custom savours of a barbarous age, and surviving into imperial times, stands out in striking isolation from the polished Italian society of the day, like a primeval rock rising from a smooth shaven wall. It is the very rudeness and barbarity of the custom which allow us a hope of explaining it.
The custom he's talking about is the regicide, or killing the previous king in order for the new king to take the throne in this mystical glade of ancient practices.
For recent researches into the early history of man have revealed the essential similarity with which, under many superficial differences, the human mind has elaborated its first crude philosophy of life. Accordingly, if we can show that a barbarous custom, like that of the priesthood of Nemi, has existed elsewhere, if we can detect the motives which led to its institution, if we can prove that these motives have operated widely, perhaps universally, in human society, producing in varied circumstances a variety of institutions specifically different but generically alike, if we can show, lastly, that these very motives, with some of their derivatives... You
have to be careful with right to your opinion. If someone's opinion is that all other races should be killed, do they have the right to that opinion?
That at a remoter age,
so that's, you know,
gave birth to the priesthood of Nemi.
That's one thing. But otherwise, that what you just said is totally true. You have no problem with anybody, no matter what religion they are. Respect them and their beliefs. As told that everyone has the right to their opinion and beliefs. Yeah.
But it will be more or less probable, according to the degree of
it's a good mindset to have.
With which it fulfills the conditions.
The modern era is different than the old era, but some of those old era power struggle remains, and we kind of sit around as peons in this power struggle that's being carried out. And religion is used as an excuse for some awful things, not by the common people. The common people, religious people, are fine. They could do without it, they could do with it, it doesn't really matter. But power elite uses religion as a tool. Yeah, no, someone asked me once, like, something about, like, I have the right to my opinion, and it's just like, well, but your opinion is, like, so wrong and causing harm. And I had to really think about that. It's like, do they have the right to their opinion? And it's like, if someone's ignorant, you know, they don't really, I don't know. Like, they have the right to have an opinion to themselves. No one's going to tell them what to think. You can't think that, but at the same time, it's like, do they have the right to scream and shout at people with it? I don't know. That's freedom of speech too, isn't it? They do have the right to. I guess they have the right to. I guess when you say what your rights are, you do have the right to say whatever the fuck you want. That's a pretty good one. But do you? Do you have the right to advocate for mass murder and genocide? I don't think so. I think that's covered in the rights. It's an exclusion. An exclusion in there.
And if he slew him, he reigned in his stead with the title of King of the Wood.
You hear that?
Rex Nemorensis.
Yeah, so I think this
According to the public opinion of
I think it's happening on server and client.
Branch was that golden bough which, at the Sibyl's bidding, Aeneas plucked
this is a server
before he
event.
essayed the perilous journey to the world of the dead. The flight of the slave
But if I put it after the switch has authority, it doesn't happen on the clients.
His combat with the priest was a reminiscence of the human sacrifices once offered to the Tauric Diana. This rule of succession by the sword was observed down to imperial times. For amongst his other freaks, Caligula, thinking that the priest of Nemi had held office too long,
this is just a weird experimental idea I have here.
Hired a more stalwart ruffian to slay him, and a Greek traveller who visited Italy in the age of the Antonines remarks that down to his time the priesthood was still the prize of victory. I
don't think this is going to make any difference, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe this will work.
Of the worship of Diana and Nemi, some leading features can still be made out. From the votive offerings which have been found on the site, it appears that she was conceived of especially as a huntress, and further as blessing men and women with offspring.
Interesting. That wire going down to there might be fucking it up, but it might be the one that fixed it.
Seems to have played a
it's going down to the multicast.
For during her annual festival held
Let's
on the 13th
skip this
of August,
bullshit. This is not going to do anything.
Of the year, her grove shone with a multitude of torches, whose ruddy glare was reflected by the lake. And throughout the length and breadth of Italy, the day was kept with holy rites at every domestic hearth. Bronze statuettes found in her precinct represent the goddess herself, holding a torch in her raised right hand.
Yeah, exactly.
The women whose prayers had been heard by her came crowned with wreaths
and
bearing lighted torches to the sanctuary in fulfillment.
Pretty simple stuff. Some people can't get that though. Some people can't figure out the simple shit, you know. Like, oh yeah, doing harm to people is bad. No, they're stuck on doing harm to people is okay. And then again, what the hell, I did open the C++ class. Shit. Didn't destroy anything. I do say the punching Nazis thing every now and then, so... But I am a very strong advocate in no revolution. And some coming from Cuba, my dad coming from Cuba, coming from a Cuban family, I know that there has got to be a different way, essentially. A violent revolution is no good, no bueno. No guns, I don't like any of that shit. I don't like the V for Vendetta mask. I do like occupying places, though, so that's non-violent.
In her character of Vesta, like the round temple of Vesta in the Roman Forum. Here, the sacred fire would seem to have been
quit while you're ahead.
By Vestal Virgin.
Exactly. Said all you had to say.
The head of a Vestal in terracotta was found on the spot, and the worship of a perpetual fire, cared for by holy maidens, appears to have been common in Latium from the earliest to the latest times. Further, at the annual festival of the goddess, hunting dogs were crowned and wild beasts were not molested. Young people went through a purificatory ceremony in her honour. Wine was brought forth, and the feast consisted of a kid, cakes served piping hot on plates of leaves, and apples still hanging in clusters on the boughs. But Diana did not reign alone in her grove.
Turn out the save off.
Two lesser divinities shared her forest sanctuary. One was Egeria, the nymph of the clear water, which, bubbling from the basaltic rocks, used to fall in graceful cascades into the lake at the place called Le Mole.
So right now I want to see if
the mills of the modern village of Nemi. The purling of the stream as it ran over the pebbles is mentioned by Ovid, who tells us that he had often drunk of its waters. Women with child used to sacrifice to Egeria, because she was believed, like Diana, to be able to grant them.
Basically just the scaling of the rag dolls, it's getting like applied multiple times, so they get like extra shrunk or extra large, I think.
An easy delivery.
Little wire there was
Tradition ran that the nymph had been the wife or mistress of the wise king Numa, that he had consorted with her in the secrecy of the sacred grove.
So this is an explanation that he's giving now of the ancient origins of this mythology, of why do the present day kings in this weird place in the 1920s, and he's probably talking about hundreds of years earlier, why did they continue to practice this barbaric religion? And this is where it goes back to. And the barbaric religion is the regicide thing. So he's talking about the mythological origins of it now.
And that the laws which he gave the Romans had been inspired by communion with her divinity. Plutarch compares the legend with other tales of the loves of goddesses for mortal men, such as the love of Cybele and the moon for the fair youths Attis and Endymion. According to some, the trysting place of the lovers was not in the woods of Nemi, but in a grove outside the dripping Porta Capena at Rome, where another sacred spring of Egeria gushed from a dark cavern. Every day the Roman Vestals fetched water from this spring to wash the temple of Vesta, carrying it in earthenware pitchers on their heads. In Juvenal's time, the natural rock had been encased in marble, and the hallowed spot was profaned by gangs of poor Jews who were suffered to squat like gypsies in the grove.
What?
We may suppose that the string which fell into the lake of Nemi
I don't want to
was
even
the
beginning
true
of
original Egerian,
commenting on that
and that
last
when the first settlers
sentence.
moved down from the Alban hills to the banks of the Tiber, they brought the nymph with them and found a new home for her in a grove outside the
Remember, this guy's
gates.
from the 1920s.
The remains of baths which
They
have
look
been
beautiful
discovered
over there.
within the
Look
sacred
at this.
precinct, together with many terracotta models of various parts of the human body, suggest that the waters of Egeria were used to heal the sick, who may have signified their hopes or testified their gratitude by
So,
dedicating
let's do
likenesses
battle.
of the diseased members to the goddess, in accordance with
As
the
you see, as we all
custom
teleport
which
up
is still
there, no
observed
more
in
stuck
many
inside the
parts of
head.
Europe.
Remember that?
To
That's
this
all fixed
day,
now,
it would
even though
seem
they're
that the
overlapping.
spring retains medicinal virtues.
If I were to be in the first-person camera, then yeah.
The other of the minor
Yes, you
deities
would.
at Nemi was Virbius. Legend had it that Virbius was the young Greek hero
Alright, we can just
Hippolytus,
fight.
chaste and
I
fair,
just want to see
who
ragdoll
learned the
stuff,
art
so...
of venery from the centre, Chiron, and spent all his days in the greenwood chasing wild beasts, with the virgin huntress Artemis, the Greek Artemis, for his own comfort. Proud of her divine society, he spared the love of women, and this proved his virtue. Died being stung by his sword, inspired his stepmother Pietus. When he disdained her advances, she forced
I'm doing heavy strikes with one of them and light strikes with the other. Both have the same weapons. I'm kind of just curious if, with some generic button mashing here, how it turns out. Before, the dude doing heavier attacks, but fewer of them won outright, like twice in a row. But I'm curious, that he had the two-handed weapon. Oh, this, yep, there we go.
Threw Hippolytus from the chariot and dragged him and their hooves to death.
Whatever, pause that for a second. I wanted you to hear the combat effects. It's pretty cool, right?
But Diana, for the love she bore
no, it
Hippolytus,
was a player.
persuaded the leech Aesculapius to bring her fair young hunter back to life by his
No
simples.
AI combat
Jupiter,
yet. Unfortunately, I do have to program that, like which attacks to use and all that stuff.
Thrust down the meddling leech
scaling.
himself to Hades. But Diana hid her favourite from the angry god in a thick cloud,
Oh, it was a
disguised his
satyr.
features by adding years to his life, and then bore him far away to the dells of Nemi,
It's the same scale,
where
which
she
is
entrusted
important.
him to the nymph Egeria,
I
to
think,
live there
I think it worked
unknown
right.
and solitary,
I need like
under
an
the name
elf.
of Virbius, in the depth of the Italian forest. There he reigned a king, and there he dedicated a precinct to Diana. He had a comely son, Virbius, who, undaunted
Two
by his
batlings. I know
father's
they looked
fate,
ridiculous before.
drove a team of fiery steeds to join the Latins in the war against Aeneas and the Trojans. Virbius was worshipped as a god, not
Just
only
make
at
him some
Nemi,
random-
but elsewhere, for in Campania we hear of a special priest devoted to his service. Horses were excluded from the Erycian grove and sanctuary because horses had killed Hippolytus. It was unlawful to touch his image. Some thought that he was the sun. But the truth is, says Servius, that he is a deity associated with Diana, as Attis is associated
I've
with
got
the
my
mother
bow and
of
arrow
the
that does nothing
and
yet.
Erichthonius with Minerva, and Adonis with Venus. What the nature of that association was, we shall inquire presently. Here it is worth observing that in
So you
his
see
long
how this
and
works a
checkered
bit better.
career, this mythical personage
Based
has
on which
displayed a
button you hit,
remarkable
it takes longer and
tenacity
does
of
more
life.
damage.
For we
And
can
does a
hardly
different
doubt
attack.
that the Saint Hippolytus of the Roman calendar,
So I'll press
who was dragged
some
by horses
lower
to
buttons
death on the
to fill
13th
in
of August, Diana's own day,
Q up there.
is no
So
other
7,
than
8,
the
7,
Greek
6,
hero
9,
of the same name,
1. You
who after
can empty
dying
some of
twice
these.
over as a heathen
Skip to the
sinner,
fast attacks
has been
here.
happily resuscitated as a
And some
Christian
medium
saint.
attacks.
It needs no elaborate demonstration to convince us that the stories told to account for Diana's worship at Nemi are unhistorical. Clearly they belong to that large class of myths which are made up to explain the origin of a religious ritual and have no other foundation than the resemblance, real
No,
or
it still looks
imaginary,
super skinny and
which may
weird.
be traced between it and some foreign ritual.
Wasn't like that before.
The incongruity of these Nemi myths is indeed transparent. since the
And on this
foundation of the
side,
worship is traced now to
and
Orestes
on this side as well.
and now to Hippolytus.
Maybe I just overdid it with the
This or
battling.
that feature of the ritual has to be accounted for. The real value of such tales is that they serve to illustrate the nature of the worship by providing a standard with which to compare it. And further,
Better than EQ1 and Dark Age of Camelot? I will take that. I will take that to the bank. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with doing the different combat sounds and sparks and blood and stuff. Tyrion, let me do
vouched for by Cato the Elder, that the sacred grove was dedicated to Diana by a certain Egerius Bibius, or Livius of Tusculum, a Latin dictator, on behalf of the peoples of Tusculum, Aricia, Lanuvium, Laurentum,
oh, we have enough light up there. I don't need
Tibur, Pometia, and Ardea. This tradition indeed speaks for the great age of the sanctuary, since it seems to date its foundation sometime before 495 BC, the year in which Pometia was sacked by the Romans and disappears from history. But we cannot suppose that so barbarous a rule as that of the Arician priesthood was deliberately instituted by a league of civilized communities such as the Latin cities undoubtedly
we need you to die.
It must have been handed down from a time beyond the memory of man, when Italy was still in a far ruder state than any known to us in the historical period. The credit of the tradition is rather shaken than confirmed by another story, which ascribes the foundation of the sanctuary to a certain Manius Egerius, who gave rise to the saying, "There are many Manii at Aricia." This proverb some explain by alleging that Manius Egerius was the ancestor of a long and distinguished line, whereas others thought it meant that there were many ugly and deformed people at Aricia, and they derived the name Manius from mania, a bogey or bugbear to frighten children. The Roman satirist uses the name Manius as typical of the beggars who lay in wait for pilgrims on the Arician slopes. These differences of opinion, together with the discrepancy between Manius Egerius of Aricia and Egerius Livius of Tusculum, as well as the resemblance of both names to the mythical Egeria.
Put the sound on again for this. I'll hit each attack in a row. Oh, he already died. And he's in a pile with the other corpse. It's nice how that worked out. Huzzah! The arm offsets there a little bit. Was that a male air elf 2? Did I just kill? Oh, this is the. Damn, I meant to kill this guy. Alright, I gotta log off as this dude. That's why he died so quickly. Done a lot of combat. Alright, let's do.
Welcome to the halls of creation.
So this dude is Sea Elf. I need another. Oh, keep in mind, this is running right now at epic settings. Let's make this dude a. I did different colors for all of these, so it's kind of fun. Oh no, let's make him a street urchin. Interesting, like, cross-section of lines going on here. Probably because of the rendering that I'm having the 3 windows open. So you see some of the textures are fuzzy. Alright, gonna get a weapon here. Let's kill the Sea Elf. If he has armor, there's different effects. Put some armor on him just there with some cheats. You hear that? He's actually got skill in it too, so I'm gonna miss a lot. Oh, I hit. He's not in combat mode. I get behind him. Do I have a better bonus? I have a bonus against plate with like heavier weapons too. Weapon versus armor is -50 right now. But if I get a pole arm, now I attack him with this one. Weapon versus armor is 20, so I'm actually getting a bonus with pole arm versus plate armor, and destroyed him quickly. But his body is inside the floor, and I cannot see what he looks like, which was the whole point. I think it's just the battling is just messed up. The other ones look fine. Although he looks a little bit big, probably because he's like on top of the other dude. And I'm like short here. I think it's working right. I just need to adjust the settings. The Sea Elf looks okay. I think I just made the battling too scrawny. When it says what? When it says what? Oh yeah, oh. The welcome thing. Welcome to the halls of creation.
Excite our suspicion. Yet the tradition recorded by Cato seems too circumstantial, and its sponsor too respectable to allow us to dismiss it as an idle fiction. Rather, we may suppose that it refers to some ancient restoration or reconstruction of the sanctuary, which was actually carried out by the
Server pickup
Confederate
didn't
States.
carry through.
At any rate, it testifies to a belief that the
I'm
grove
spawning
had
it on
been
the
from early times a
client,
common
that's
place of
why.
worship for many of the oldest cities of the country, if not for the whole Latin
It's a
Confederacy.
widget. I need to pass it through to something that exists on the server.
2. Artemis and Hippolytus.
Or
I
maybe
have
just
said that the Arician legends of
have to do a
Orestes
custom
and
event
Hippolytus,
on the
though
widget to run on
worthless
server
as
first.
history, have a certain value,
Widget exists
insofar
on the
as they
server
may
as well?
help us to understand the worship at Nemi better by comparing it with the ritual and myths of other sanctuaries. We must ask ourselves, why did the authors of these legends pitch upon Orestes and Hippolytus in order to explain Virbius and the King of the Wood? In regard to Orestes, the answer is obvious. He and the image of the Tauric Diana, which could only be appeased with human blood, were dragged in to render intelligible the murderous rule of succession to the Arician priesthood. In regard to Hippolytus, the case is not so plain. The manner of his death suggests readily enough a reason for the exclusion of horses from the grove, but this by itself seems hardly enough to account for the identification. We must try to probe deeper by examining the worship as well as the legend or myth of Hippolytus. He had a famous sanctuary at his ancestral home of Troyzine, situated on that
This first hour or two is kind of like
bay, where groves of oranges and
not necessary.
tall cypresses soaring like dark
The cool
spires
stuff comes
above
up
the
later
garden
on,
of
but
the
I wanted to
Hesperides
re-listen to this again
now
just in
clothed the
case.
strip of
Just refresh
fertile
my memory
shore
if there's anything
at the
interesting he
foot of
says.
the rugged mountains.
But the rest of the book is insane.
Across the blue water
Still
of
pretty
the
cool stuff
tranquil
here.
bay, which it shelters from the open sea, rises Poseidon's sacred island, its peaks veiled in the sombre green of the pines. On this fair coast, Hippolytus was worshipped.
Alright, subscription. What's up with that? Who is it?
Image.
I miss it.
His service was performed by a
I
priest
missed it.
who held office for life.
Any
Every
notification?
year, a sacrificial festival
I don't know what
was
happened.
held in his honour.
I don't know what just
His
happened.
untimely fate was yearly mourned with weeping and doleful chants by unwedded maidens. Youths and maidens dedicated locks of their hair in his temple before marriage. His grave
Well, thanks for the whatever that
existed,
was.
though the people did
Huzzah.
not show it. It has been suggested with great plausibility.
I don't have my GIF set up, man. I don't have anything working.
Beloved of Artemis, cut off in his youthful prime, and yearly mourned by damsels, we have one of those mortal lovers of a goddess who appear so often in ancient religion, and of whom Adonis is the most familiar
this is a
type.
widget.
The rivalry of Artemis and Phaedra for the affection of Hippolytus reproduces, it is said, under different names, the rivalry of Aphrodite and Proserpine for the love of Adonis, for Phaedra is merely a double of Aphrodite. The theory probably does no injustice either to Hippolytus
this is such a pain in the
or
ass.
to Artemis.
Pain in the ass.
For
The
Artemis
functions
was
can't.
originally a great goddess
Make
of
it
fertility,
replicate.
and on the principles of early religion, she who fertilizes
So annoying.
nature must herself be fertile, and to be that, she must necessarily have a male consort. On this view, Hippolytus was the consort of Artemis of Troezen, and the shorn tresses offered to him by the Troezenian youths and maidens before marriage were designed to strengthen his union with the goddess, and so promote the fruitfulness of the earth, of cattle, and of mankind.
It's right there.
It is some confirmation of this view that within the precinct of Hippolytus at Troezen there were worshipped two female powers named Damia and Auxesia, whose connection with the fertility of the ground is unquestionable. When Epidaurus suffered from a dearth, the people, in obedience to an oracle, carved images
Look at all
of
that.
Damia and Auxesia
Alright.
out of sacred olive wood, and no sooner had they done so and set them up than the earth bore fruit again. Moreover, at
It's
Troezen
really funny. It's
itself,
still like right
and
there.
apparently within the precinct of Hippolytus, the curious festival of stone throwing was held in honour of these maidens, as the Troezenians.
So Ragdoll saved its scale from before.
And it is easy to show that similar customs have been practiced.
Now the
in
rep
many
notify
lands.
for all these
The
corpses, as you
express
see, it
purpose
takes
of
longer now to get to the next menu.
In
And
the
I'm thinking
story
it's
of the
not good,
tragic
because it takes a
death of the
long
youth of
time.
Hippolytus, we may discern an analogy
Just for like 3
with similar
corpses?
tales of other
That's the
fair
only
but
difference
mortal
here.
youths who
When you have a
paid
bunch
with
of
their
characters,
lives
it doesn't make a
for the
difference.
rapture of the
It's
love
those
of an immortal
poses getting rep
goddess.
notified that just took all that
These
time.
hapless lovers were probably not always mere myths,
So,
and the legends which traced their spilt blood, the purple bloom of the violet, the scarlet stain of the anemone, or the crimson
this
flush of
happened.
the rose, were
This
no
bug still
idle poetic
exists.
emblems of youth and beauty, fleeting as the summer flowers. Such fables contain a deeper philosophy of the relation of the life of man to the life of nature, a sad philosophy which gave birth to a tragic practice. What that philosophy and that practice were, we shall learn later on. 3. Recapitulation.
buying a
We
weapon.
can now perhaps
Not getting a
understand
weapon.
why the ancients identified Hippolytus, the consort of Artemis, with Virbius, who according to Servius stood to Diana as Adonis to Venus, or Attis to the mother of the gods. For Diana, like Artemis, was a goddess of fertility in general, and of childbirth in particular. As such, she, like
That didn't
her
even
Greek
do it either.
counterpart, needed a male partner.
Says I stole from.
That partner, if Servius is right, was Virbius. In his character of the founder of the Sacred Grove and first king of Nemi,
Can't even
Virbius
spawn
is
them.
clearly
Looks like I'm gonna have to do
the
everything into one
predecessor
function
of
on the
Archetype,
controller
line of priests
to spawn an item
who
to pick
served
up.
Diana
Which
as
is
the
probably
title
good for the
of kings
future,
of
so I can just
the
refer to it.
and who came, like him,
It's a bit stupid
one
though. I think I'm
after
gonna
the
end
other,
up getting
to a
some
violent
lunch
end. It
next.
is natural, therefore, to conjecture that they stood to the goddess of the grove in the same relation in which Virbius stood to her. In short, that the mortal king of the wood had for his queen the woodland Diana herself. If the sacred tree which he guarded with his life was supposed, as seems probable, to be her special embodiment, her priest may not only have worshipped it as his goddess, but embraced it as his wife. There is at least nothing absurd in the supposition, since even in the time of Pliny, a noble Roman used thus to treat a beautiful beech tree in another sacred grove of Diana on the Alban hills. He embraced
Yeah, I
it,
need some
he kissed
nourishment
it,
over
he
here.
lay under its shadow, he poured wine on its trunk.
Anyone
Apparently-
wants to join on a playtest, make sure you join the Discord. I don't think the exclamation point thing here is gonna work if I type it in. I'll try it just in case. I don't think it works right now. I don't have the Restream app set up, but it's on my text file here, so I can just copy it. Here, Be sure to join us if you want to download and play test with us this weekend. I'm just going to be cleaning it up. And I already test packaged it earlier, so if you want to help me, also WR, if you want to download that, I don't know if you're home or whatever, if you have your connection, but let me know in the Discord, because I'm going to sign off now, and I'll send you the file. You can start downloading the package I did this morning, and we can just make sure it actually works and just goof around with the combat and the brokenness of what's been there from before, what I already just fixed here. But yeah, I think that's it for now. I need to get some lunch, and I'll probably work on this some more later. I need to go to the dentist later, too. Alright, guys. We watched the first half hour of The Golden Bow. We didn't really listen to it, but that's okay. Right around here, I think, is where it's going to get sweet. Alright, guys. Peace out. Thanks for the follow or subscribe, whoever that was. If it was a donation, let me just wait and see the ticker go by. Oh my god, this got messed up. There we go. Sure. Canal Family Games. That new? $10. That is totally new. Holy shit. Thanks, dude. Thanks for watching. Is that new? I want to say that's new. I'm not sure if that's new or if that's like the first Canal Family Games. Well, shout out either way, whether it's a subscribe or it's a donation. Appreciate it. I'll look into my game wisp and see what's going on up here. We got some messages and stuff. All right, I'll see you guys. Peace.